Hey everybody, welcome to Beer Bearings. Thanks for coming back. In my last video, I talked about the fact that I wanted to do some interviews with people in the craft beer industry in New Orleans, Louisiana, where I live, but also around the country, and talk about the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on their business. Today is the first of those interviews. I was fortunate enough to sit down with Eli Gay over at NOLA Brewing. Eli is the brand new Director of Customer Experience over there. He's also a former restaurateur and a bottle shop owner, so he's kind of been in various customer-facing segments of the industry already in his career. So he's got a lot of perspectives about how the COVID-19 pandemic is affecting the industry. I hope you'll enjoy that. I hope you'll watch it with me and learn. A little quick word about the videos. I am contacting people and they are interviewing on the equipment that they've got handy. That's often a phone. And I'm actually recording live to Zoom essentially and doing very little editing on those videos. So it's a little bit what you see, what you get, but it's going to be very honest and very straightforward. So please enjoy that, and I'll see you right at the end. Thanks so much. Hey everybody, this is Chris from Beer Bearings. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I'm with Eli Gay this afternoon. He is the Director of Customer Experience at NOLA Brewing. We're actually carrying on a New Orleans tradition or a Louisiana tradition of porch sitting as best we can during the COVID-19 epidemic, where we're social distancing and trying to keep everybody safe and staying home or staying apart. So I've got Eli over at NOLA Brewing, and I am sitting actually in my backyard where it's a little quieter than my front porch. I want to start off by just asking you, Eli, first of all, thanks for joining me, and I want to ask you what you do over at NOLA, how long you've been there, and a little bit about the rest of your history in beer. But importantly, you've got a beer in front of you, and I want you to tell us what that one is, and by all means, pour it and start enjoying that.
Yeah, I got NOLA's Tangerine Squeeze. It's an annual release from NOLA. Nice medium to light-bodied wheat beer. Add in tangerine juice, and you've got yourself a nice summer sipper. And I'm drinking it because it's hot already. I think it's gonna get worse, so I'm preparing myself for the heat. I started at NOLA a whopping week ago today, which it's been an interesting time to start a new job anywhere. And I'm grateful to even have a job at this point because there's so many people without them. My purpose here is to create a great experience for every person that walks into this tap room, whether that be through just everyday foot traffic, which we hope to regain at some point very soon,
right?
Or events, beer education, tastings, hopefully some beer dinners here in the future. NOLA's been such a mainstay in the craft beer community here, really, especially from the very beginning. And I'm thrilled to be a part of this family. They are doing everything they can right now to keep everybody whole financially. We got bartenders cleaning, and we're working the beer to go counter. So things are not at a standstill here, but things are challenging for sure.
Right. Yeah, so we're only probably about a week or so into the mandate of closing all bars and restaurants. That includes brewery taprooms as well, and taprooms are a big source of revenue for a craft brewery. So it's important work. I know all the breweries around town are trying to do everything they can to keep all their employees as whole as possible during this. We're not here to talk about me, but I know that the brewery I used to work with in Cincinnati or work at in Cincinnati has actually laid off a bunch of folks already. They're a much bigger operation, so they took a much bigger hit. Tell me a little bit more about your history in beer, though. You've got a pretty interesting story even before you got to NOLA. So tell the folks about where you've been and what you've done. And I'm going to pour my beer before you do that. So I've got a Great Raft, the company I keep. It's a very nice drinking Pilsner. Great Raft is up in Shreveport. There's the can opening. You can hear the freshness. I'm going to try to pour it appropriately. I've got the right glass. I know you're a certified Cicerone. I want you to be happy with my pour. I put a nice collar of foam on there. Look at that. Okay.
Beautiful.
There we go. So yeah, please talk about your history in beer a little bit.
Yeah, so I cut my teeth up in New York City. My wife, then girlfriend, and I were up there. She was going to journalism school up there, and I picked up a job at a craft beer bar in the East Village. And I always liked beer, but I was around beer people and this amazing wealth of access to just some of the best beers in the country. The New York market is just, it's pretty incredible what's available up there. And now, that was years ago. So now it's, I'm sure, even greater. Although I will say briefly about the New York market that so many local breweries have popped up and making just outstanding beer that I think folks from outside of New York City, as opposed to in years past, are having a harder time just because there's just so much good beer there. And I think we're seeing that in New Orleans too. So many great craft breweries opening up compared to when NOLA opened up its doors. It's great to see, really. But moved down here after about 3 years working up there, and I opened up Brett Beer Room, which was New Orleans' first and really only craft beer restaurant. We took the restaurant word extremely seriously. We had incredible food alongside a rotating draft list of 16 different beers that were, balanced taps, and really tried to create a great pairing experience for folks. And 3 years came to an end, but 3 years I'll never forget and loved every second of. And as you said, I got my Cicerone level 2 last summer, and hoping to go for advanced at some point.
Well, good. Yeah, that Fred Beer Room definitely was something, unheard of, really, in New Orleans. And I would say that actually it hasn't been, nothing has come along to kind of replace it, if you will. And obviously we're all sorry that it's gone. You also had the bottle shop for a bit as well, right next door, the Annex. And again, that's something that we don't have necessarily all that many of around here. So obviously your beer, and I think NOLA is going to be really pleased that they've got you on board. So I'm looking forward to it. You're a lot closer to me on this side of town now too. So hopefully I can get over there and see you a little more often.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting sitting up here and, seeing the industry on the river. It's certainly not as active as it normally is, but it is active. We haven't come to a complete standstill, but, traffic's about a quarter of it what normally is on Chapatoulas. And, at this hour, which, we're talking at 4:30, it's kind of a little strange to see.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and we're about 40 minutes now from the official beginning of a shelter-in-place order issued by the governor yesterday. So we've got some pretty alarming numbers down here in Louisiana. So that, I think, is going to make it even slow down a little bit more. But hopefully folks can stick around and make it go. You talked about some of the things that you all were doing over there to keep people occupied and employed and on the rolls and, still making some money. And that's been a problem all over New Orleans. Bars and restaurants all closed, except for restaurants can have to-go service. Some have decided to do that and some have not. What's the most important thing in the beer community right now that you think people can be doing to support during COVID-19? I mean, obviously purchasing to-go beer, but what else?
Yeah, purchasing to-go beer and purchasing to-go beer from the breweries themselves. Grocery stores are one of the very few industries that are not being too negatively impacted here financially. Certainly, they have some operational strain, but it's local breweries. Losing the taproom revenue, as you mentioned earlier, is rough. But you've got restaurants and bars that aren't making purchases, which leads distributors to not come and order products on their end. Supplying the grocery stores helps, but it doesn't account for the loss in revenue that every brewery has when every restaurant and bar can no longer pour their beers
Right.
in the draft system or sell their cans. So, I think we go on these big grocery runs, just stop by a drive-through beer facility, which is now what all of our breweries are.
Right.
And support them. Tip the staff if you can. It's a complicated issue because there are so many folks hurting financially, and where you put your dollars is a personal and difficult choice these days, to be honest. So
Yeah.
do what you can to support your local beers. But everybody's in it together, really.
Yeah, positively. There are several, as you said, NOLA is kind of the granddaddy of New Orleans craft beer. There's only one brewery older in Louisiana. That's Abita. Abita is the other craft brewery founded in 1986. So NOLA's one of the oldest ones around, and worthy of support. And there's now a real corridor right along Tchoupitoulas there. For those of you watching this, if you're in New Orleans, there's a real, there are 4 breweries now right along Tchoupitoulas, only 3 of which I think are doing to-go sales. So maybe you can hit all 3 while you're out there. All right. Well, I appreciate you being with me today. I know it sounds probably your day is winding down since you got a beer, but you work in craft beer. You could have a beer any time of day pretty much, and as long as the bosses are okay with it. I appreciate you taking time out. I know you want to get home to your family and make sure they're doing well. Anything else you want to add before I wrap it up here?
Just drink good beer and spend time with your families, and we'll get through it. And cheers.
There you go. Yeah, so that's what I would say. And cheers to you, my friend. There's always time to take a sip of beer right in the middle of a statement. I'm going to go with that. So, yeah, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, everybody. I want you to stay home, stay safe. When you do go out and buy local beer, stop at a brewery and pick some up, and wash your hands. And then when all this is over with, get back out to those brewery tap rooms as much as you can and spend that money. But take care of yourself and yours. And thanks again, Eli. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Chris. All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, so that was my conversation with Eli Gay. I think you'll agree that was very honest and very insightful. And he highlighted one of the best things you can do right now. If you've got a local brewery or breweries that you support near you and you have the ability to do so, both financially and you feel like it's safe for you to be out and about, pick up some beer from their tap room directly from them. That will help them more than probably anything that you can do. Certainly that's true in Louisiana, and I know a lot of breweries around the country are doing similar things. So thank you again for joining me today. If you like this content and you want to see more of it, by all means, feel free to like and subscribe. I hope that I'm doing some good by getting the story out and the message out a little bit about craft beer during the COVID-19 epidemic. Most importantly, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and wash your hands. Be safe. We'll see you soon.